Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how is it going? Mark Chin here. You can probably tell not just by this familiar face, but also because my name in whatever corner that is on Facebook. I don't even know. Hey, I got some really cool news from you. It's very exciting, and I wanted to share it all with you. So I would like to introduce an amazing friend of mine. I've known this gentleman for over 20 years. We've met in the Tony Robbins organization. We both worked for that company for a long time, and he's got something that I'm super excited about coming up in the South Florida area. So I'd like to all introduce you to Willard Barth. Willard, take it away.
Well, I thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You're excited that it's in South Florida because you get to get out of the cold weather in New Jersey in March and come down and hang out in the sun for a little bit.
It's cold up here.
I know I'm actually in New York City at the moment. I woke up this morning at one of my business partners' places I was staying last night, and the temperature was 18 degrees. I'm like, there is a reason that I go to Florida in the winter. So
Yeah, it was 24 by me, so I'm all good.
cool. Well, Mark, thanks for having me on here to share this. I know that I had mentioned to you the other day about this event that I'm going to be doing in South Florida. It's going to be March 7th and March 8th, and it's the Ultimate Small Business Success Mastermind. It's going to be 2 days jam-packed of things for people who are speakers, coaches, authors, entrepreneurs, business owners of any size business, because it's really focused around what are some of the fundamentals and some of the key distinctions that you need to focus on to be successful in business. And just really excited to do this. We've been doing, myself and Lisa Lieberman Wang have been doing similar masterminds in the North Jersey area. But, one of my friends in Florida brought it up of going, since you spend so much time down here in the winter, why not do one down here? So I decided to pull the trigger on it, and we're going to be doing it. And I'm excited that you're going to be coming down and helping out with it. So,
Oh,
looking
yeah.
forward to the time. Yep, we're just locking the hotel down now. It looks like it's going to be in Boca Raton.
Ooh, fancy.
Well, thank you. Yes. So I just want to get into not just telling people what all is going to be happening in the event, but I actually want to give some value to the people that are watching also, because I don't want this just to be, a pitch for the event. I want people who are watching this to be able to walk away from this call with some skills, some strategies, some things that they can actually apply. So what we're going to delve into on those 2 days are actually what I call the 7 secrets to small business success. And let me just give a quick run through on these, and then we'll delve into a couple of them. The first key to being successful in business is really around your mindset. And we're going to be focusing on that in the 2 days that we're together. We're going to be talking about your belief systems. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your product, your service, the industry? What do you believe about your clients? Because that's going to determine every action that you take. And while we're at the event, we're going to help you overcome some of the limiting beliefs and fears that prevent you from maximizing what you're doing. We're also going to talk about the rules that you've created for yourself of what success is and what has to happen for you to be successful. We're going to delve into, and I'm going to circle back to this in a moment, your confidence formula, meaning we all talk about what differentiates your business, but what differentiates you? What makes you totally unique in the role that you are living as that business owner? Why should people do business specifically with you? And then that dovetails over into your business. And again, we're going to circle back to that in a moment as part of the exercise that people will be able to do. Another thing we're going to get clear on those 2 days is your ideal client avatar. So many people spend their time marketing to everybody, but selling to nobody, because they don't really realize what the biggest problem is that they solve for their ideal client. They're just trying to sell a bunch of wishes, dreams, cool features, and advantages. But really what your ideal client wants to know is, do you understand my problem, and do you have a specific solution for me? So we're going to delve into how do you really identify that. So that's all just in the first key, which is in mindset. Next, we're going to get into mastering your niche. So we've talked about your personal differentiator. Now, what's your business differentiator? If you're sitting in a room and you're at the exit door for a trade show, and your three biggest competitors are sitting next to you, what are you going to be able to say to Mark? Mark's got $1 million check in his hand. And you have to tell Mark why you're different than those other three people who are sitting there. And if you can convince him that you're different than the others, he'll give you that $1 million check, and he will write a $1 million check every year as long as you're in business to continue with you. Challenge is most people can't identify. They'll throw out all the catchphrases, the buzzwords of why they're different, but it's the same exact thing the other three people are saying. We're going to get into, again, in mastering your niche, recognizing the difference between a customer and a client. This is an age-old Jay Abraham principle, that a customer is somebody that purchases a product or service, and a client is someone who comes under the care, the protection, and the guidance of. So which do you want to be treated like, and how should you treat your potentially clients? We're going to be talking about, again, when you identify your ideal client, what's your primary focus? How do you recognize what their greatest problem is and communicate to them how you actually solve it? Now, the next thing we're going to be going into in Mastering Your Niche is one of the areas I've been doing coaching and business consulting for 22 years now. And one of the biggest challenges I find that companies have is they cannot clearly communicate what the benefit is for doing business with them. They'll talk all about the advantages, how they've been in business for 30 years, how they've got the latest cutting edge technology, but they never speak directly to how that impacts their ideal client. And Mark, I know you've been doing some business consulting also. So have you seen these as being similar challenges that the clients you work with run into?
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
Okay. The third key that we're going to focus in on is the players. How do you know that you're hiring the right people and putting the right people in the right position? There's something that professionals use. There's all sorts of different personality profiles. You'll hear about them in the Tony environment. Some people may use Myers-Briggs, all these other things. For business, I prefer DISC because it not only identifies a person's personality, but it also goes into the 4 different quadrants of business and lets you know if the person that you're hiring based on their personality, you're putting in the right position. Because so many times come into companies and they've got great people, but they've got them in the wrong role because it doesn't play to their strengths. And then again, this is just on the 3rd out of 7 that we're going to be talking about and going into this weekend. How do you hire for culture and train for skill? So many places look to hire the A player, go for the greatest skill. But if that person is not a fit for your company values, for your company culture, it becomes a cancer and destroys the motivation and everything for the rest of your people. So we're going to be getting into how do you actually make that move to hire for culture, train for skill. So that's 3 out of the 7 we're going to go into. Before I go into the final 4, I told you I wanted to give you value rather than just give you a laundry list of what's going to be there. So what I'd like you to do right now, pen and paper or type it up on your computer, I want you to just put down confidence formula. And this is what we're going to spend a couple of minutes focusing on. So your confidence formula, again, is what makes you the expert, the educator, the leader in your field or industry that somebody should want to do business with. Whether you're a solopreneur, you're a speaker, an author, a coach, whether you're in direct sales, whether you're in a network marketing company, or whether you're running a company that has 155 employees, ultimately your business is a reflection and a mirror of you as a person. So let's take a look, and I want you to write down right now, what are some of the greatest successes that you've had in life, some of your greatest achievements? And I want you to throw all modesty out the window. There's only one person who's looking at this paper right now. You're not sending it to Mark. You're not sending it to me. It's for you to look at your successes, big and small. It might be a spelling bee that you won when you were in 3rd grade. It might be a trophy that you got for your first 5K race. It might be a certification that you got related to your career. It might be the degree that you got. But I want you to take a moment right now and write down every accomplishment, every success that you can think of, personal and professional, because your personal successes weigh into this just as much as the sales trophies that you've won. You know, these personal successes of actually getting in shape, you know, maybe releasing some weight and getting back to being healthy, or, you know, being in a successful relationship. You know, it's sad that when we hear people nowadays saying, I've been married for 10 years, people are like, wow, congratulations. You know, it's like, it used to be that those longer term relationships were the norm. Now we celebrate them. Well, celebrate yours. What are the wins that you've had in all those areas of your life? Because this is about reinforcing the fact that you've overcome challenges, you've weathered the storm, you've actually succeeded in areas that later on in the confidence formula, when you really drill into it and you say, okay, when I achieved these things, was it a home run? Did I just step up to the plate, swing one time, knocked it out of the park? Or did I strike out a bunch of times before I actually connected with the ball to be able to move it forward? Did I fail forward? Did I fall down? Did I learn from those mistakes and readjust? So I want you to capture, I know we're kind of limited on time here. If when you're at the event, we'll actually pause so you can write these down, share things with your partners, and brainstorm. I know I'm moving a little fast, but I'm dropping a couple of ideas here of just what are some of the things that you've achieved? What are some of the successes you've had in your life? And then next, I want you to drill a little bit deeper and look at what are some of the major obstacles that you've overcome in life. It may have been a health issue. It may have been a failed business. It may have been bankruptcy. It may have been, you know, the end of a relationship that really put you in a downward spiral. You know, what are some of the things that you've overcome? And some of these you may still be dealing with. You know, it may be the loss of a parent that you're grieving with, but you're working your way through it. What I want you to be able to do is to look at your life from the position of a non-involved observer, to be able to step back and give yourself the pat on the back, the credit, the observations that you would give to your best friend. Look at those struggles that you've overcome. Look at those times that you did fail. Look at those times that you picked yourself up, brushed yourself back off, or you may even be in the middle of picking yourself up and brushing yourself off now. And capture those things. Because again, all of these are resources, all of these are skills that you are going to bring to the table in helping your clients, in helping your company and your business grow. Okay, so you're looking at number one, what were your successes? What were your achievements? Number two, what were some of the greatest obstacles that you've overcome and how did you overcome them? And then the third thing, this is one that's a little bit of a twist on it. I want you to look back at some of these things in your life that when you look back now, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when you were going through it, it was seemingly insurmountable. You had no idea how you were going to straighten out that problem in your life. It may have been something where your finances were a mess and you're like, okay, I've got to clean this stuff up. I've got to learn financial intelligence, financial responsibility, and I have no idea where to start. It may have been something with your business. I mean, the reason I've become successful in business and coaching others is because I've made horrendous mistakes in my past. I've made mistakes that cost me $250,000. And I know other people who've made some that are more, so I'm not trying to compare on this. But when you learn from those mistakes, when you're in the middle of that battle, you're going, how in the hell am I going to get through this? When you learn from them, you're never going to make that mistake again. So what are some of the things that now when you look back, it's like, not a big deal. You may be a financial whiz now. You may know all of the legalities about your business and the business formalities. But again, one of the reasons I ended up in so much debt in one of my early businesses was I didn't realize about setting up an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp. I just set it up as a DBA, doing business ads. Cost me $35. I went down to the Newark courthouse in Newark, New Jersey, did a name search, registered it, didn't realize that any debt that was accumulated, I was personally responsible for. And I ended up owing $250,000 because of bad business decisions. But because of that, I will never open up and run a business without having those things in place. So again, look at the things that may seem like no big deal now, but there were lessons learned and mountains that you had to climb to get there. What I want you to do is, after we're done with this call, spend some more time sitting with this, adding to it. Talk to your spouse, talk to your best friends, get them to give you some feedback also, because so often we're the first ones to beat ourselves up for shit, but we're the last ones to pat ourselves on the back and say what we've done well. And again, your confidence formula is going to be the foundation that drives everything that you do. All right. So I want you to sit and stew on those things a little bit. Think about those. I want to tell you a little bit more of what's happening at the 2-day event. And then I'm going to circle back and give you another exercise. Then we'll wrap up and letting you know how you can learn more. So I told you about the first 3 keys, which are mindset, master your niche, and the players. The 4th key is really around strategic planning. You know, we've all heard the phrase, and I think it's been beaten to death, that most people do not plan to fail, they fail to plan. And we say it, but the reality is, how many of you actually know how to create a strategic plan that you can execute to grow and build your business? Again, I know I'm talking a lot, but Mark, I want to get your feedback on this again, because I know that you talk to people both in the personal coaching and the business coaching side of things. How many times have you run into people who are setting goals that have no basis in reality? I mean, we tell people to reach for the stars, but they set things and then have no plan on how they're going to get there. They just say, okay, I'm going to make $1 million this year, go.
Not only do they not have a plan, some people can't even recognize a plan in front of them. They don't know how to validate a plan. So if they have some steps that say, okay, yeah, I'm going to make $1 million. You know what? I'm just going to sell my way to $1 million. I'm going to just do a bunch of marketing and I'm just going to sell my way to $1 million. And they don't have the other aspects of business in order for them to sustain that. Just like some companies go grow, gone, you know? Yep. So that's another aspect of it. If you don't have a strategic plan, you don't have the ability to follow through and make sure that you grow.
Yep, so true. You know, it's one of those things that I've talked about with clients a lot of times. I have a lot of clients who have a product that they're looking to get into a major outlet, we'll say, like Walmart or Costco or, you know, Walgreens. They want to get it in there. And they don't realize that that could be the death of your company if you're not prepared for it. You know, people are going, yeah, my dream is to get on Shark Tank and my dream is to get recognized and get distribution through Walmart. Like, okay, do you realize that when you get into a company like that, they're going to ask you for X million dollars worth of inventory that you're going to give them basically on consignment, and they'll tell you they're going to pay you on net 90 terms. So meaning they'll pay you 90 days after you deliver. But the reality is they're not going to pay you for net 180 usually. And if your product is a success, 2 months into it, they're going to go, great, your product is going great. We need another X million dollars of your product. And you haven't been paid on the first round yet. So strategic planning is so important. Know your goals. Know that they are SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Then reverse engineer it. There's a great process we're going to go through on the weekend. It's called the Dan Kennedy question. I think Dan's process for goal setting is one of the best out there. It reverse engineers it of saying, if we were to meet here 3 years from today, and we were to look back over those 3 years to today, what has to have happened for me to be happy with my progress, both personally and professionally? So you're not setting some lofty goal that doesn't have an end game. You're actually playing a little bit of a mind game of putting yourself in the future, saying it's 3 years from now, what would have to happen for me to be happy with my progress? And then you're coming from a realistic place. It's a little bit of NLP, it's a little bit of other things that go into it. But what I found is everybody I've worked this process with, they actually come up with very realistic goals for themselves. Now, they're stretch goals, of course, but they get to a certain point where they reach threshold that says, if I have one more thing on here, I'm just bullshitting you. I'm just putting it down to sound, you know, cool, versus this is really what I believe is capable. It's just that shift in mindset. Then the next thing we do with that is we go into what he calls your DOS. Now that you know what you're going to achieve, what are the dangers, the D of the DOS? What are the dangers you're going to need to avoid to be able to achieve this? What are the opportunities you're going to need to take advantage of? And what are the strengths that you need to maximize? Now, when you've taken that and you've laid that out, whether it's a 3-year plan, a 12-month plan, a 5-year plan, and you started looking at it, now you're starting to get to the place of being able to put together an actual project plan. And I know Mark is like the master of, RPM and OPA and other things. Mark loves to do project planning where you start with the end in mind and then you just keep breaking it backwards till you get down to your action steps. And I know Mark loves to check shit off his task list.
Oh, it feels so good to do that. I'm the prince of planning.
He is the prince of planning. So in the strategic planning phase, we're going to go through that. How do you start with the end in mind, work it back to an annual plan, work it back to a quarterly, and then make sure you're executing on the results producing activities, not the keep me busy shit activities, the results producing activities. So that's the 4th secret to small business success. The 5th, we're going to be talking about sustainability and scalability. This again goes back to what I was talking about with the Walmart aspect of things. So many people, when you get into your business, you haven't actually defined what your exit strategy is going to be. How can you have an end game that you're working towards if you don't know that in 5 years you want to sell it? In 5 years you want to franchise it? In 5 years you want to take it public? How do you build a plan to get there if you don't know what the ultimate end game is? So we're going to look at what are your different options for your exit strategy so you can plan more effectively to get there. The buzz phrase, it seems, for the past decade has been about working on your business versus working in it. But how many people actually understand what that means and are able to transition from working on their business to working in their business? We're going to be focusing that day on how you delegate out the things that do not have to have your personal attention on, so you can be focusing on doing the things that only you can do.
Yeah.
And then to do that, go ahead, Mark.
That to me is really where a CEO learns how to be a CEO. So if a person is a CEO in their business, they learn how to do it specifically, so they're not always stressed and they can be the type of person that they are, that really, whether the fact that they're working inside of it or they're mentally, they're creative or anything like that. It's really, you can call it a CEO boot camp. That's just one section right there.
Yeah. Yeah. The next thing that we're going to work on that day is process mapping. Now, again, this is so important to scalability and sustainability. So this is going to be another one of the exercises I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you a little bit of that. You can start process mapping some things, but just remember, we're going to come back and talk a little bit about that now. We're going to deep dive into it on the weekend. The 6th secret is mastering your sales machine. Most people, it's funny, I've asked this question in social media, I've asked it in live events, and I ask them, what's the number one function of your business? And I get all of these altruistic answers: to change the world, to serve my clients, to do this, to do that, to do the other. It's like, sorry, every successful business person that I know agrees that the number one function of a business is to make a profit. Because if you don't make a profit, you can't serve your clients, you can't change the world, you can't do these other things. You have to get that foundational piece together. So many people, it's so interesting. People come to these events and they're in business, but they're scared of sales and they're scared of being sold to. It's like, if your resistance comes up when somebody makes an offer, makes an invitation to you that is going to actually benefit your company, benefit your business, benefit your life, and your defenses come up, more than likely when it comes to selling, it's not more than likely, this is pretty much a human behavior fact. People sell to their own fears. So if you don't like being sold to, you are never going to effectively sell to other people. You think that sales is a 4-letter word. It's actually 5 if you put the S on the end, but anyways, you've got bad feelings about it. So we're going to talk about the differences between sales, marketing, advertising, because that's another area that people just get totally confused on, since they don't recognize that sales, even within sales, the art of selling and the art of closing are two very distinct skill sets. They're very different. Sales is about building rapport. Closing is about breaking rapport, risking losing that relationship. All right. The next thing we're going to be going into on the sales machine is the 4 seasons of the economy. You know, most people who are in business right now either started their business in the fall economy or they grew up during a fall economy. Now, Chet Holmes is the person who created this 4 seasons of the economy theory. And I think it's much more than theory based on what I've studied. These cycles, these seasons run in 25 to 30-year increments. So I'm 54 years old. I grew up and started most of my businesses in a fall economy. Fall is the harvest, just like nature. There's abundance in everything. So if you think back to pre-2005, Mark and I, again, have known each other for 20 years. So I'm sure his head will be going like this when I mention about how, you know, we were both, I'll dare to speak for you on this, we were both the addicts to new technology. Whenever the newest piece of electronics came out, we had to be the first people at the store to buy it, the newest, greatest thing. And then 3 months later, when the next newest technology came out, we had to be back at the store to buy the next newest, latest technology. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yes, but in my defense, I recycled my old stuff. So, I mean, I went a little green. Not all the way, but a little green.
Okay, dude, I have seen your storage unit.
No, I got rid of a lot of stuff. I totally did. And my wife gets on me for that also. But so, I mean, I still have a ways to go, but I'm almost there.
But think about it yourself. Okay, I use the example for me. I remember when plasma TVs first came out. And I think my first plasma TV cost me about $1,500, $1,700. And then 3 months later, Mark will know better than I do whether it was LCD or LED technology that came out. The plasma went in the corner and I had to go buy the next new thing. In a fall economy, people were willing to buy things, find out it didn't work, and then spend more money. In a winter economy, the same amount of money is being spent, but it's being spent differently. So people will spend twice as much to make sure that the product that they're purchasing is what they're looking for and will solve their problem. Circling back to our first key of knowing what your ideal client's problem is. But the challenge is most people are still trying to sell in a fall economy mindset. They use terms like new, cutting edge, you know, first to come to market with this. That's not what people are looking for in a winter economy. People are looking for proven, guaranteed, time-tested. So what you use in your marketing and how you approach your sales is totally different in a winter economy. In sales, we're also going to talk about incremental improvements. There is the 10-10-10-10 rule. 3 positive 10s and 1 decreasing 10. So when you look at your sales and you need to know your numbers, if you increase your number of clients by 10%, if you increase the percentage of people that you actually close, so if you're closing 1 out of 10 and you bump it up to 2 out of 10, you increase it by 10%. If you increase your profit per sale, and then you decrease the amount of time that it takes to close, okay? Because most people are not in a one call close business anymore, where you talk to the person one time and you close the deal. In a winter economy, it's actually said that it takes 16 touches before someone will make a purchase, because they're price comparing, they're going on the internet, they're looking at different things, they're looking for that certainty, so it takes more touches. If you can increase the number of clients you have, increase your close ratio, increase your profitability, and decrease the closing curve, you actually get a 47% increase in your revenues. So recognizing these little nuances, I like the expression on your face, Mark, what's really going to blow people away is when we get into their sales process. Talked about process mapping earlier. Most people have a sales process that is 9 to 10 steps. When you figure generating your leads, having that first conversation, qualifying the lead, when you break it down into each increment. And what we're going to go over this weekend is the only thing that we're going to talk about increasing by 10% is the amount of leads that you generate. Whether you go out and buy more leads, whatever, increase the number of leads by 10%. Every other step in the sales process, we're going to teach that by improving your ability at each of those by less than 6%, by the time you're done, it's 108% increase in your revenues. People don't recognize it's the little shift that makes all the difference. All right, so that's where we're going to go into the sixth secret, which is about sales. And then the seventh one we're going to go into is, again, Jay Abraham is one of the mentors that I bow before. I mean, this guy was kicking ass in the marketing world and turning around companies.
He's simply brilliant.
What's that?
Yeah, he's simply brilliant. Jay Abraham
Absolutely.
he's a rock star.
Yeah. I mean, first introduced to Jay Abraham's concept in 1998. And some of the stuff I learned from him then, I still stand by like it is sacred text. I mean, just if you're in the studying marketing right now and you're studying Brendan Bouchard or Frank Kern or Mike Koenig or any of these people, they've taken what Jay did 25 years ago and simplified it by putting it on the internet. Jay was doing all this stuff when it was direct mail, phone call, and it was actually real human interaction going on and things. But the final thing we're going to focus on that weekend is after you've gotten all of these pieces together, we're going to talk about the only 3 ways that you're going to be able to grow your business. There are many different tactics that you can use, but ultimately there's only 3 ways to grow a business. Number 1 is increasing your number of clients. Number 2 is increasing your profitability. And to do that, you need to know 2 numbers that I'm willing to bet 70% of you who are listening to this don't know. And the number 1 is, what's the lifetime value of a client? Meaning, once that they've done business with you, how much money will they invest in your product and your service until they're no longer working with you? Because most people look at their marketing budget and go, oh, well, my product is only $497. I can't spend $300 on advertising to get that client because I'm only making $497. But if you look at the lifetime value and recognize that person stays with you for 3 years and spends over $5,000, how many of you would spend $300 to acquire that client now? If you're not spending $300 to even acquire them at the $497, you got a problem. If you're making positive cash flow, but most people can never really get their marketing numbers lined up because they don't know the lifetime value of a client and they don't know the cost of acquisition. So these are all sorts of the things we're going to be digging into on the 2-day event. And the third of the 3 ways to grow your business is, how do you increase your share of customer? Meaning, how do you get them to purchase more times and more products from you? All right. Now, I said I wanted to give you another piece of value that you can work on right now before we talk about how you can actually attend this event. Talked about process mapping. Now, this is the key to identifying any of your processes. If you're in business right now, every process that you have, from answering the phone to the manufacturing of your product, to the sales of your product, to the running of every aspect of your company, should have a written, formal process, policy, and procedure. Because you cannot scale your business. You cannot sustain your business. You will never be able to work on your business if you do not have the handbook that allows you to train other people how to actually execute your processes, your policies, your procedures. You have to create that manual. And people roll their eyes when I talk to them about this, okay? But McDonald's is so well known, it used to be so well known for being the leading edge in the franchise industry. They made the running of their business model so simple that a high school student could do it. And that's because they put everything into their manuals. Everything was step by step by step. I mean, so detailed that it would be, if you were opening the store, it's like insert key, step 1. Turn clockwise 3 rotations, step 2. Open door, step 3. Shut door behind you, step 4. Lock door once inside, step 5. Go to alarm system, step 6. Punch in X code, step 7. Everything was detailed. Because what happens is when people are phenomenal at something, they've got this internal checklist that they run through. And most of the time when they're getting ready to train somebody else, they don't go through their internal checklists. They give people the high points of what they want them to do. But then that person's never able to replicate what they did and to be able to take them out of the equation. So you need to make sure that you do process mapping. So I'm going to give you what Mark, myself, and other people do with our clients. And I've had CEOs of multi-million-dollar per year companies laugh at me when I tell them this. It's so simple, but it's so important. So I want you to pick any process that you have right now. I don't care whether it's generating leads. I don't care if it's opening your office in the morning. I don't care if it's answering phones. Pick one process. Okay. And what I want you to do this on a piece of scrap paper rather than numerically, because you're going to change it. On a piece of scrap paper, I want you to write down what's the very first thing that you do. Okay. So go ahead and write that down. Okay. Now that you've written that down, I'm going to ask you, that's the first question. Second question, extremely important. Is there anything you do before that? Now, people just kind of chuckle when I say that, but in 22 years of doing this, there are very few things that I can say every time. This is one of those things that I can say every time that I've asked somebody, is there anything you do before that? They'll come up with a list anywhere from 3 to 10 additional things that they did before what they just told me was the first step. Again, they do it so well, they do it without thinking about it, that it's not part of what they think to tell somebody else. So after you've exhausted, okay, anything before that, anything before that, anything before that. When you've exhausted it and you've got those first steps, now you're really to what this first step is. Then you go to the next step. Okay, next question is, what happens next? Then they tell you. Guess what your next question is? Is there anything that happens before that? And you're going to continue to do this. Now, people will go, really? Well, are you serious? I'm totally serious. And what happens is when I'm working with these CEOs of companies who are doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and I'm asking them these basic questions, and they start to see the little nuances that show up, they have this oh shit moment that goes, this is why our efficiencies are down. This is why our effectiveness is down. This is why I can't take Mark out of the role he's in, because if I pull him, nobody else knows how to do what he's doing. I can never promote Mark to the position. I really want Mark to be a VP of operations, but if I take him out of that role, there's nobody who can do what he does. And that's because nobody has sat down and actually elicited what the process map is to be able to do it in the document. So what I want you to do is, again, pick out a process, and the questions are very simple. What happens first? Then is there anything that happens before that? After you've gotten all that, great. What happens next? Is there anything that happens before that? Wash, rinse, and repeat until you get to the end of that. And you now have your process map for that specific task. And then you can do this again with the next procedure. Okay? Now, let me tell you how invaluable this is. One of the clients that we worked with, they were a family-run construction company that had been in business for decades. And when we came in, myself and the rest of our team, they had 15 employees and they were doing $32 million a year in annual revenue. Not bad by anybody's account, okay? But we went through every single one of their processes, and it took a while to do it. In 18 months, they went from 15 employees and 32 million in revenue to 63 employees and 124 million in revenue in 18 months by finally understanding what it was that they were doing and how to be more effective at doing it. I cannot stress enough the importance of process mapping. So I know that I have downloaded a lot of information on you. Reason I wanted to do that is I did want to give you value. So I'm looking forward to your comments, your questions, your feedback on the confidence formula and the process mapping. And there's only so much I can give you in the limited amount of time that we have here. You know, I mean, Mark and I could stay on this thing for 24 hours and still be going through some of these different processes. If I'm just talking, Mark would be going to sleep and I would just be, you know, going on about things. But, you know, we don't want to do that. What I do want to do is extend a special invitation to you. If you're watching this right now, it's because you're a friend of Mark's. We created this so it's going out to Mark's friends, followers on his social media accounts. And this event, Mark's actually going to be there. It's going to be March 7th and March 8th. Mark it in your calendars. If you're in Florida, come by. If you're not in Florida, great reason to get out of the cold weather and come by. Okay, March 7th and March 8th. 2 days. And again, just really quick highlight, going to go over the 7 keys we're going to focus on. It's going to be, as I just shut down the document that I was looking at. Okay, it's going to be mindset. It's going to be mastering your niche. It's going to be the players. It's going to be your strategic planning. It's going to be scalability and sustainability. It's going to be mastering your sales machine. And then the 3 keys to growing your business. We are going to be immersing ourselves. This is not going to be me talking all the time for 2 days. This is a mastermind session where you're going to be paired up and working with people who are also in various industries that you're going to be able to learn from them and pull from them. And this is where you walk out of the end of the 2 days with an actual plan that you can execute and move forward in your business with. Okay? So now this weekend event, 2 days, normally is $19.97 for the 2 days. Because you're a friend of Mark's, we have a special link for you that will let us know that you watched Mark's presentation that we're doing here, that you're a friend of Mark's, that you know Mark, and it's a special offer for you. Okay? So just to let you know, you get the 2 days. You're also going to be included in a 90-day transformation challenge. Okay? That's normally $597 for the 90-day transformation challenge. This is designed to launch after you complete the 2 days of the weekend, so it helps you make sure that you're executing on what you learned that weekend. You're also going to get a copy of my #1 bestseller, The Anatomy of Transformation, which really gets into some of the psychology of how you transform, and a brand new book that myself and my partner, Lisa Lieberman-Wang, it's not even released really yet, but we did actually get the physical copies of it.
Ooh, bonus.
Out of here. Yes, bonus. And it's called Brand You Become the Expert. And
Nice.
it is really digs into some of the stuff of how you really separate yourself from the competition. So you're going to get all those things, the 2 days. And for those of you who use Mark's link and go there, it's $497 for the weekend. You know, so $497. Yeah, I know. It's people.
I didn't know that you were going to discount them that much. See, people, I got the hookup for you. I got the hookup. Big discounts because you know me.
Well, hopefully it gets even better. If they have a business partner or they have a friend who's in business, they can get the second ticket for half off. So
Whoa.
1 ticket for $497, 2 tickets for $747. So, you know, I wanted to make this a no-brainer for people. You know, people go, well, Willard, why are you doing it for, you know, if it's normally a $19.97 program, why are you doing it for that amount? There's a couple of reasons. I have made the decision in 2019 that I'm going to be shifting more towards training and teaching people how to grow and expand their businesses and, you know, do it from the training aspect and start stepping back from the business consulting that I'm doing with everybody. So doing this type of event, it actually, you get exposed to what I'm teaching, what I'm doing, how I do it. And the intention is you love it, you get value, because my intention is to under promise and over deliver. And then you're going to introduce me to other organizations that I can go and do these types of trainings in. So you are walking out of there with your strategic plan, you're walking out of there with your value, and you know, you're helping me reach my mission, my goal of impacting more and more people. So again, really excited to be doing this in South Florida, March 7th, March 8th. The link, we're going to be posting it in the comments section, but I'll say it for you right now for those who want to get there immediately. And /M for Mark's first initial, M Chin, CHIN, SOFL events. And again, Mark's going to be posting that link in the comment section.
Yes.
I know based on how we're recording this, we're not really able to get questions from people who are watching, but Mark, in the download that I've given you, are there any questions that kicked up for you that you know some of your friends would probably ask?
You were pretty thorough on this all. The only thing that I think that they would want to know is location. Any specifics of where specifically in South Florida it will be?
It's right now I'm working on going through the contract. Looks like it's going to be the Embassy Suites in Boca Raton.
Cool.
So I'll have that locked down in the next couple of days. Everything looked great on it. We just wanted to, firm up some of the things. Like as Mark knows, one of the last things that I had to check out with him was going to be, do understand we're going to have music and it's going to be loud. So you don't want us next to another room where people are going to complain that we're being too loud for them. That's like the final negotiating
Well,
point.
did you tell them I was going to be there? Because then they would know how loud it's going to be.
They may say no then, or
Oh, yeah. 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 Good idea. Don't tell them I'm coming.
yeah. So right now it looks like it's going to be the Embassy Suites in Boca Raton. So if I'm
All right. Either way, on the link that we're putting in the comments is going to have all the information that you're going to need, and the huge, massive discount, $497 for the ticket. The second ticket, half off if you want to bring a spouse or a business partner, whatever or whatnot. Insane value. Willard, thank you so much for coming on this channel and offering all my friends the huge hookup of the discounted price, making me look even better than I already do. And thank you for taking the time on this call. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. And again, when you register, I'm going to know that you came from Mark's, but when you show up at the event, of course, you'll see Mark there. But make sure to come up and tell me that you're here because Mark is your friend, and that's how you found out about us.
Yeah, and when you come down there and you see me, make sure you give me a hug and a high five. All right? I'll see you in South Florida, March 7th and 8th. Put it in your calendars.
Thanks again, brother.
All right. See you later, man. Thank you again.
And recording is done.